Laurie Huston's News for the Heart is dedicated to helping you give a voice to your own soul. Our hearts have the power to free us from pain and the struggles that keep us from awakening to our true essence. Join Laurie now as we delve into our heart and soul to find the path that will open us to the possibilities and lead us to the life we love to live.
And good afternoon. This is News for the Heart. Well, it is the second Tuesday of the year. It's 2025.
Oh, not just the month, the year. Okay, the new year. Okay.
And well, because it's the second Tuesday, we have my awesome co-host Tracy McBurney. And well, we're going to, I don't know, it should be an interesting conversation. And I know you told me what it was about. And then it's gone. It's like, okay.
Do we need something for memory, Laurie?
Possibly, yes. Yeah, I can even say a definitely yes.
Groundedness? Is it a memory, a groundedness?
But welcome to the show, Tracy.
Thanks. I love the laugh. I'm here for the laugh. Everything else is whatever it is. Okay, so, well, I got inspired by a client consultation that just happened. Because I really had no clue what we were going to talk about today. It was just like, I'm doing the prayer going, okay, help me out. And this feels really right. It feels really right. So it really just sits in a conversation that starts with mind, body. This concept that there is not a physical human body that exists on this planet, that there is not a mind connected to all the time, every day, 24 hours a day, mind, body. So this, very super cool. This is now proven science. Dr. Candace Pert, who no longer is alive, she has actually proved this. So yeah, she passed away several years ago. She actually proved this, and she proved this physically. So to all of the resistant doctors, scientists, people that needed everything proved physically, tangibly, they want to see it. She figured out a way to do this in a way that it could be seen, it could be documented, it could be put into data. So mind, body is real. And we are mind, body connected. So the topic I wanted to bring forward today, which was very relevant to this particular client, is something called permissions, something called agenda. So what is operating in the mind that is a non-permission, like I'm not giving permission for this. You need to have my permission. I need to give my permission before XXX is going to happen, before you're going to invade my body. I need to give you permission. So it is a kind of a sovereign piece. It's you didn't ask my permission. Well, you didn't ask my permission, so I close off the doors. And it's also an agenda piece. It's what are you making more important than this portion of your body coming back into flow? What are you making more important? The agenda that's more important. It's more important that I teach you a lesson. It's more important that I stay in this suffering place and let you see the impact of your actions through my suffering. So I am going to stay here and suffer so that you, the abuser, so that you, the violator, so that you, the perpetrator, will be able to see what you caused. And hopefully then change your behavior because you've seen it. So I'm making your redemption more important. I'm making your education more important. I'm making the corporate interest more important. I'm like, whatever it is, there's an agenda, whether you created it or whether somebody else created that agenda and you're buying into it consciously or unconsciously. There's an agenda that is not allowing for healing to happen, that's not allowing for flow to be restored, that's not allowing for conversations that need to be had between different body parts to happen, So there's no proper body talk between the places that want to talk to each other and should be able to communicate. And this isn't being seen. So I'll give you the example. So I got asked a question by a person. What was my opinion about mudding? They're having a hip issue. Somebody suggested that now the problem is so deep within the hip that the physiotherapist, whoever it is that's been trying to help, can't access this place. So there's toxins that are that deep. There's something so deeply embedded that it can't be accessed by the people that have been trying to access this or by themselves. And so I was being asked my opinion about mudding, M-U-D-D-I-N-G, a specific mud put on a specific place on the hip so that the mud would start to draw out. Like Saskatoon mud, for example, is apparently a mud that's really good at this. So I remember thinking, maybe that's why my grandparents lived to 99 and 98, and my grandfather always had a brain that worked really well right until the day that he died. Could it have been the Saskatoon mud that they grew up in? I don't have an answer to that question, but I thought it was very interesting that the people that like to work with mud baths and stuff, they think the Saskatoon mud is just beyond belief amazing.
Interesting.
So this was the question I was being asked. And I said, okay, well, I could see that. I know why. I have a little bit of an understanding of that particular product or methodology. And so, yeah, I could see that as being relevant. But the question is, I like doing muscle testing around these things. I like asking the body, the specific body mind, is this a good option for accessing that inaccessible? In fact, let's start with, is there something inaccessible? Is there something that right now has been inaccessible to the physiotherapist, not reachable by the person, not reachable by hands, not reachable by bioflavonoids, not reachable by antioxidants, not reachable by a certain vitamin? Is there any truth to this? So I got that there was truth to this, that this was a good thing that this person had brought forward, that there was something currently right now unreachable or impossible to access. Okay. So, okay, well, nothing's impossible. Well, if we actually seat in divine truths, then everything is infinite, and therefore everything is ultimately possible at one particular time or another. So, so now we're sitting with this. So yes, this person's dialogue was relevant. There is something that is not accessible. And now we're moving to the next concept was, is this mudding something that would be beneficial, highest and best? Is it a really good choice for the mind body? I also suggest, biofeedback, working with somebody who really knows what they're doing and is sitting in a really not trying to control or have any agenda. That's also a really good way to reach places where previously things have been inaccessible. And then I also heard laser light. Like I know of one colleague of mine that has this really cool light thing that she has and all these different frequencies of light. So it's not just the anti-inflammatory frequency of red light, but she's got one that's got all of these different frequencies of light, and the body almost like chooses it. And I heard that the frequencies of very specific light would actually do this. So I was like, okay. And I was just sitting in the empty space, like just sitting in that empty space, wanting to connect to core light, wanting to connect to their heart within, wanting to connect to my light of heart within. Oops. And it says likely fraud is the message from the phone.
Oh, we didn't hear it.
Good. Sorry. So now I've lost my page of my book. I'll find it in a second. So
You were looking at the lights.
I'm looking at the lights. I'm looking at all of this. And then I'm in this, just this connected place.
Mm.
And then it drops. See, this is the beauty of kind of being in that really connected place. Something that I had not considered. I was playing with the physicality. I was playing with physical things.
Right.
And thinking about the physical things, the mudding, the biofeedback, getting information about the lights, the physical things that could access this kind of problem. But then because I'm just in that deeper 0 point place, it lands agenda. I was like, of course, agenda, permissions. Yes, of course. Let's look there. Because if somebody's got an agenda, if somebody's got something in mind that's an agenda, if somebody's got a permissions issue, that in its own right is going to make something inaccessible. And it's not something that you're going to be able to mud away. And it's not something you're going to be able to laser light away. And it's not something you're going to be able to access in biofeedback because it's been rendered inaccessible until the mind will allow it.
Right.
And so it turned out to be an agenda issue. So I'm like, okay. And so when you get into that truth place, it's really fun. When you get into that truth place and she's in the truth place and I'm in the truth place and everybody's kind of floating in the truth place. I call it floating in the truth place. And there you are floating in the truth place. And you might kind of go, I have no idea what to do with this. Like this word comes in agenda. I have no idea what to do with this.
Right.
But I know it's truth. I know we're floating in this truth. And it's okay not to know what to do with the truth. Doesn't mean the truth isn't the truth.
Right.
It's okay.
Right.
So it's almost like if you're ever in that place, just allow light within heart to help you with that. To better inform you about that, to bring the people in, to bring the books in, to bring the people that know something about this particular topic that you're just floating in truth, not knowing what to do. I'm turning that over to heart within, to light within heart. I'm turning that over to my divinity and taking a breath. In this particular instance, I kind of knew some places to go. I had that kind of eureka, like agenda. I didn't think about that. I was so busy dealing with the physical stuff, trying to expand in the physical arena. I didn't really think about mind. Yeah, okay, thanks. Thanks for getting me on target. Thanks for bringing me in deeper truth. Like maybe we'll use one of these physical things, but these physical things aren't going to do anything if we don't unlock this. So then I like to play the what if game, which is exactly what I did with this person, the what if game. I love it. It gets us out of analyzing. It gets us out of left brain analytical planning, and it moves us right into the right brain. Well, what if? What if that were true? And right now, nobody really feels threatened by that. You're not poking at somebody going, what are you freaking doing? Like, what are you doing? What did you like? No, we're not doing that. We're just like, well, what if that's true? What if that's deliciously true? Like play with me. Like, what if that's true? What if that's true that there's an agenda that you have, that you currently have, that you weren't even aware of that you have? An agenda to try and control another person, or an agenda to try to get through to another person, an agenda to try to teach another person or get them to behave better, or an agenda to, an agenda that you didn't even make up, an agenda that really came in from family. Like the family that wants to right the wrongs, the family that wants to call the dominant people, the family that wants to show those that have been dominant and all powerful that, you here in the family, are somebody that should be paid attention to, whatever it is. And so I just said that to her. What I thought I turned off the phone, still ringing.
We're not hearing it.
Good.
Zoom doesn't do that. You can't even get music on Zoom. So, well, unless you allow it.
So she listened. And I said, so what if that were true? Would that interest you? Would that interest you to make an agenda that you may know about consciously or you may not know about consciously, but an agenda that is being held to the place where it's interfering with you being able to access these deeper areas at the hip, with anybody else being able to access these deeper areas at the hip? What if that's true? Would you want to continue to hold on to that agenda? Would you want to continue to make that agenda more important than the flowing of the hip, more important than the mobility of the hip, more important than you having no pain in your hip, more important than you being able to move forward in the ways that you'd like to move forward, or stand still with no pain, or just more important than you being able to go out on that golf course and have no pain? And of course, what was the answer? She said, no, I don't want to make any agenda more important than any of what you've talked about. And so, no, I don't want that. And so that was the choice. That was the decision. And there were no blocks. There were no reversals. There was no resistance. There was no interference, no obstacles, no invisible obstacles, because as soon as she said that, energy started to move. Because the agenda was lifting. Her light within heart, her divinity, her internal God within herself, her higher self was able to move that agenda, however you want to see it, that spiritual energy within her was able to move that agenda because she said, I don't want that. I don't want to make that the priority, and there was nothing else blocking it. And if I didn't feel that movement, if I didn't see, because some people are seers. I'm not necessarily a seer. I could feel that, ooh, interesting. So could she. And if I didn't feel or see that happening instantly from that decision, the next question I'd want to ask, are there blocks, are there reversals, are there resistances, are there interferences, obstacles, invisible obstacles that are not allowing for her will to be acted upon? And if there are, then we want those divinely released and removed. Divine action. So if these divine within action, turning that over to light within heart, if you like that better, to release those, to deal with those. Does she consciously need to know how to deal with those? No, she doesn't. She doesn't. We don't consciously need to know how to deal with a lot of these things because we know how to deal with those things at a very different level that is right down at heart and accessible through heart. And can be accessible through our brain, like our head brain knowing, hey, we have a divine self. Hey, we have a higher self. Hey, and my brain is now accessing it through here. But we discussed that last month, the idea that sure, we can use our brain, our head brain to do all of that, but so much more deliciously easy to get out of heart's way and just let heart and light within heart take care of that. Because heart knows heart, light within heart knows how to do a whole lot more than our head brain is ever going to understand. So then after that shift happens, then I just want to ask some questions. Like, how accessible is that area at hip now? In percentages, how accessible is that previously inaccessible area of hip now? It was 100% accessible. It was a move from nope, wall to 100% accessible. So does she need to use mud? Does she need to spend money using mud? No. Would mud be a really good way of, an ideal way, the best way of actually moving toxins? Like if there are toxins there, Would it be the very best way, the way that would be the preferred way of the mind body? It wasn't showing up as the preferred way. Does she need additional help with this? No. She doesn't actually need additional help with this. So can light of heart now access? Now, light of heart always knew that that was there, but is not going to go where we are not allowing, where our will is not allowing it to go. So is light within heart there now? Yeah, light within heart's there now. Is light within heart moving toxins if there are toxins? Is light within heart moving, I don't know, sediments, moving parasites, moving bacteria, moving stuff that's gotten stuck there? Is light within heart doing that? Yes. Does it need help? No. Does it need mud help? No. Does it need biofeedback help? No. Nope. Have I just done myself out of a biofeedback session? Yeah. For that.
Yeah.
And is that just fine with me? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Because more important than me doing that biofeedback session for that person was me maybe actually showing them this, having a conversation about agendas, having a conversation about permissions, having a conversation about mind, body, and how the mind can actually be the resistance that's not allowing the body to flow. And really just super cool to be able to say, you know what, your body can take care of this now. It was always able to take care of this now through connection to your light within heart, but was rendered incapable because your mind, another mind, got in the way with that agenda. So now that that's not in the way, your light within heart in deep and beautiful connection with your body can do way more now to be helpful to the hip, to be helpful to the talking, to be helpful to the flow out of things. And maybe it would be beneficial for you to drink some water, because now the water can get into areas where previously there might have been dehydration, where water was not accessible. And all of that's just super cool, because it just helps people to understand how they work, and the idea that they don't necessarily need all the help or all the products. Sometimes we do, but we don't necessarily need all the help or all the products or the go-tos from outside of ourselves if we'll get out of our way. So the people that really got me really understanding this and looking at this a little bit more microscopically was Body Talk. So Body Talk courses, the two foundational courses that I took, Body Talk Fundamentals 1 and 2. I honestly think, if I wanted to go through all of the hoops to get to the place where I could legally in their corridor teach Fundamentals 1 and 2, that'd be a great living. That'd be a great living just to be a teacher of Body Talk Fundamentals 1 and 2. I think that's a great course. It actually is together, Body Talk Fundamentals 1 and 2. I think it's a great course for anybody to take. That is where I learned more about this idea of permissions. Then before then, permissions to me went, oh, well, I need somebody's conscious permission to be able to work with them if I'm working offline. Like if I'm working there in their house, I need their conscious permission. But it never occurred to me that after the conscious permission, that there might be more permissions issues that were going to bite them and were going to bite me in a session that I had never realized. Like this person has given me conscious permission to work with them. But then halfway through the session, there's a permissions issue that was not seen, that was embedded. And now we're not getting anywhere. We're not getting anywhere because this person is withholding permission for them and for me to access their inner child, or withholding permission for them or me to access what's going on in their heart, to rebalance something in heart, to rebalance something for soul. And they don't even know it. They don't even know it because it's deeply unconsciously embedded. But they've given their conscious permission to do the session. They've put $120 down on my desk. That's kind of a permission. They're paying me for a session. That's a permission. I am giving you permission to help me. But what if there's an unconscious permission for help that has not been given? They've handed the $120 in for the session, but there's unconscious non-permission to be helped. And how do you access that? How do you know about that? You know about that by asking the question, is there a permissions issue, consciously or unconsciously, dogging this person and interfering with the potentials for our session today? Is there a conscious or unconscious agenda that is operating that this person knows about, or it's unknown to them, that would be then interference to us being able to, first of all, come together heart to heart, be together, be one together, be on the same page? Isn't that lovely?
It is. I find it fascinating because as you were talking, especially in the beginning, it's like, oh, I could see where the agenda could be. I don't know, like I could see that we all sort of have agendas when we're going through stuff. And I don't think we're conscious of it. I think there's a lot of times where it happens that we're, especially when you're talking about that bit about, when somebody feels like something that happened is unfair. And so they're working towards trying to teach them a lesson or teach them something. Like I find that really fascinating because I can feel myself going, oops.
Oops, I've done that. Okay, well, what about this agenda? I'm going to own this. It was Linda, my biofeedback person in Ports. I love this person. So she opens my eyes up to this. Being in her presence is like being in the presence of Mother Teresa, right? So I'm in a session with her. I am convinced, that's an agenda when you're convinced. When you're convinced about something, I am convinced that my muscles are wasting. I am convinced that this nerve condition potentially is now wasting muscle. Or I'm convinced that because I've had such a sit-down job in my second career, where I have not done enough to exercise, I have not done enough to actually move the muscles other than get up every day and walk the dog twice a day, that I have not been disciplined enough to put more action, more physical activity into my world, that my muscles are wasting from that. So forget about the nerve condition. My muscles are wasting from this because I changed my career from a very active restaurant career. Even when I was general manager, I was still active all the time, delivering plates of food up and down stairs, moving boxes, whatever that is. I was always active for all of the hours that I was in that restaurant. And then when I go back to school, I get all the designations, I become the nutritionist, I become the energy medicine practitioner, I become the what I call unconventional nutritionist. Let's look at the energy of all of that before we do anything with supplementation nutritionist. I was sitting a lot. And my whole kind of pelvic core really just disappearing. So I'm convinced that my core is disappearing. I'm convinced that my muscles are wasting. So what does Deolinda say when I'm just so upset by some of this stuff? I mean, one part of my bum's disappearing, like wasting away. She says to me, there are all sorts of words that the biofeedback would have for this. Scarapenia, like all sorts of medical words. She says, I'm seeing none of it.
Oh.
When I put muscles in, I see this to treat. I am not seeing muscle wasting. I am not. She said, she says all of that rather emphatically. Then she takes a breath. Then I say, but, and I respond back with my retorts because I'm convinced.
Yeah.
And then she's just breathing, and then she's coming into her gentle place. Tracy, there is nothing there. There is nothing there that is supporting your way of thinking on this. So I think we need to take a different track.
Mm-hmm.
Are you good with that? In her really gentle way. That's engaging in her gentle way. It's engaging my dream state. It's engaging my right brain. It's the what if that were, because she's talking gently now. If people are talking at you aggressively, if they're talking at you in that matter-of-fact, aggressive, blah, 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 well, what are you going to stay engaged with? Left brain. Left brain, details, let's get more detail, right? Left brain's going to very much be engaged because somebody's on an attack. Somebody's going at you and you have to bring back an answer. But she changed course and just went into her beautiful, gentle self. And in that moment, I unlock something. Just like, okay, all right. So you're telling me that there is no evidence whatsoever of muscle wasting. Whatsoever, anywhere that you're looking. She said, that's what I'm telling you.
Right.
And I was like, and then I believed her.
Right.
I believed her. I believed her because she cares about truth. She cares about truth. She cares about people. She cares deeply about helping people to find the truths, bring flow back where flow needs to be restored, rebalance what needs to be rebalanced. She cares deeply about that and feels very responsible to that. You know, like she would say, I have taken on the responsibility of your care today. And so I will do that to the best of my ability. And I thought, no wonder I find her. Because that's exactly the way I've always operated. And I don't think sometimes it served me very well. And this, why I say that is my first job, my second job, my third. I take on the responsibility of this candy bar. I take on the responsibility. You have hired me as a candy girl at the famous Players Theater of University Avenue as my first job. And I take on that responsibility. It's almost like you might as well put a Bible in one hand and my hand up in the other. I take on that responsibility. And I will do that to the best of my ability. And in that moment, I have taken ownership of that bar. That is my bar. That is my bar. I will do the very best job that I can. That is my bar. You have entrusted that bar to me, and I will do the very best job that I can. That is what she does with her biofeedback clients. That's what I have worked to do with clients in my office, always. It's that level of dedication of service to that end. And any job that I had after that, it's like, okay, I take on that responsibility and I step into the service to do the very best job I can do. But it was interesting that it was to the level of ownership, even though I didn't own these places. Right. So employers would love me. I didn't own these places, but I'm behaving like an owner.
Right.
And it's just because of the duty of care, like the level of that duty of care. And I knew that she had that, and I knew that she had explored every avenue that she could see, and that she could see a lot in that biofeedback. So she was telling me the truth. and I could unlock myself from them. And that also is an agenda.
Right.
When you believe something to be the truth. I absolutely am sitting with muscle wasting. I have muscle wasting. I have cancer. When you believe that to be the truth, then that also is an agenda. So there are walls around anything other than the way that you see that. When you believe that that person called your husband is blah, he's the asshole. He's, that is my husband. He used to be this. Now he's this. And he's now just an asshole. It's like, okay. That in its own right is an agenda. Because all other considerations have been taken off the table. You see something in only a certain way. And as soon as we say those things to ourselves, and as soon as we lock down the doors and say, this is the way it is, then the brain gets that. And then the brain starts to delete everything that is not in alignment with what it is that you're saying. Because you have decided this. So the brain is going to support you in how you are seeing this. So it's just going to not allow you to see stuff that is not supporting your agenda. So your husband might be a great guy here, but you're only going to see the asshole bits. Or you'll be able to rationalize away the things that are something other than the asshole. Oh yeah, that happened, but that only happened because of this. So I just wanted to share that with you because agenda, it's big.
It's big.
It's big. It's big.
Mm-hmm. I think it's bigger than we realize. I think it's interesting because we've worked on similar areas, but I think this might be a blowout area that we haven't really worked on.
Yeah. And so, the agenda then services to not leave us open-minded. We're no longer open-minded. We have tunnel vision when it comes to X and judgment, tunnel vision and judgment. I have judged this person, or I've judged this, or I've judged my body, or I've judged my muscles. And so now I'm just looking for things that support my agenda because my agenda is correct. Yeah, very interesting. Mm-hmm. So just to say this about permissions, for example, this is directly quoted from the Body Talk book. So I've already done the plug for the Body Talk, which I will get there's no money coming back to me for that. I really honestly do feel like Fundamentals 1 and 2 are really good courses for anybody to take. And if that's unaffordable or not floating your boat, there is a really good, inexpensive access course where it's a first aid access course, and it's super cool because it teaches the 17 different neurological points, parallel points. They call them not parallel points. They're not parallel points, but opposite points of the body that need to be put into balance. And lots of times they're out of balance. And just to put those points, just to know those 17 points and be able to put those back into balance can be a game changer when it comes to pain. The person, for example, who is got a knee problem and knows that the balancing point for the knee is the elbow. So on the opposite side. So because they took this little $100 course, they're actually holding their left elbow while their right hand is doing little circles on their knee, on their right knee. And why do they know how to do that? Because they took that little access class and learned the 17 balancing neurological points that are opposite to each other on the body. Another way for us to get locked in. So I just say, I've given my little plug to Body Talk, and I feel now, because I've given my little plug to Body Talk, I'm going to directly read what they have to say, the little clues. Like, this is only little clues about permissions. So it says sample statements for general permissions. I need to be sick to be loved. So it's I'm not giving permission to be well because I've got this belief that says I need to be sick to be loved. I need to be sick to get my needs met.
Right. No, there's
another general permissions issue.
Those are the hypochondriacs that we know and love.
So I give myself permission to get better. So it's interesting. Somebody coming into your office and who literally is coming in going, I'm in such pain. But then you find that there's a permissions issue. And the permissions issue is that they are not unconsciously giving themselves permission to get better.
Right.
Because being in this pain is serving them. They're getting attention. People are flocking around them. People are giving them money. People are giving them additional help. They actually get 2 weeks off from work and they've been completely overwhelmed. So that's 2 weeks off from work. So it's actually working for them at an unconscious level. Another sample permission statement, I deserve to be healthy, which means on some level, there's something being held that says, I don't deserve that. I give myself permission to accept help. So here you've got a client showing up for help, but they have a permissions issue where they literally have to say out loud, I give myself permission to accept help. Or I give myself permission to accept Tracy's help. So even though I've come into the office, they've come into the office, a permission issue comes up and it's I say out loud, I am giving myself permission to receive Tracy's help. Or to allow myself to be helped by the modalities that Tracy's working with, which means I'm going to let those in. So this one's not written down. How about this one? because this is very common. I'm giving myself permission to allow the healing being offered today to work. I'm giving myself permission to allow what this person is doing with me to work. And this could be exactly what's going on when you have somebody who literally say, I went here, 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 and nothing has worked. Nothing has made anything better. Nothing has made a dent in anything. Nothing has worked. I'm going, let's just see if there's a permission issue. Let's see if there's a permission issue where literally it's like, do we have a permissions issue that literally is not allowing this person to let anything work? Which means they're getting exhausted and the people that are trying to help them are getting exhausted and exhausting all possibilities trying to help them. I give myself permission to let go of my illness. Or this could be something I give myself permission to let go of this anger. I give myself permission to let go of this rage. I give myself permission to let go of all this fear. I give myself permission to let go of all these judgments that I have held towards blah, 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 blah. It is safe for me to be balanced through body talk. That's their modality, right? But what happens if it's not? It's safe for me to be balanced or rebalanced through the acupuncture that I'm choosing. It's safe for me to be rebalanced through the Reiki that I am choosing. It's safe for me to be rebalanced through the work that Tracy's doing. In other words, it's the choice to make it safe, to allow it to be safe, to allow the mind to recognize the potential for safe could be in the work that I'm choosing. And so I look at my family, and to me, it's like my family is like nothing else that I've ever done pretty much seems safe to them because it's not medical. It's not medical. It hasn't been delivered by a man in a white coat. It hasn't been delivered by the medical profession. It's like, so therefore it's not safe. It's not safe. It's not something that I should be investigating because it's not safe. And it's certainly not something that they're going to be embracing because it's not safe. They've got their own agenda around safe. And they want to do what's safe and they want to be safe. And they want to be safe in whatever they're doing to heal and whatever they're doing to rebalancing. And I wouldn't want anything but that for them. But there's something going on in the mind that's not allowing something other than medical white coat to be seen as safe or to be seen as credible or to be right.
Right. Yeah. No few of those too.
So,
and I'm the opposite. It's like, don't give me a white coat.
Right.
Give me the opposite.
And that also is a problem.
Right.
That also is a problem because then you're writing off. You're kind of going, oh no, now I got to go to the doctor, but I don't trust them. So you don't have that open mind.
Right.
To be able to recognize in this particular case, that person could be exactly the best person for me.
Exactly.
So it's recognizing your own narrow-mindedness, which is judgment.
And agenda.
Right? So there were just a couple of other ones. I give permission for my body to be balanced. I give permission for my mind to be balanced. I give permission for my spirit to be balanced. I give permission for my soul to be balanced. I give permission for my heart to be balanced, which has helped.
Sure.
Right?
I could see that.
And so it's almost like, if you think about it, it's like, what does it hurt? Like, you're coming to somebody, you're going to the doctor because you got an ear infection. Why not say out loud before you get there, I give permission for my ears to be rebalanced? Why not just say that out loud? What the hell? What do you have to lose? Nothing. And if there's a permissions issue there, you've actually done a favor to the doctor who actually you've gone for treatment to because you've said that out loud. You're going to the gynecologist. I give permission for my body to be balanced. I give permission for my whole reproductive area to be balanced and or rebalanced. I give permission for any problems to be seen or recognized easily. Like, how about that? But no, if we've got issues with doctors in white coats, then we're not saying that.
No,
we're not saying that because we don't think they know anything that's going to help us. And we don't necessarily want their help because we'd be sitting there going, your help is surgical or your help is drugs. And I don't want drugs necessarily for this problem, and I don't want surgery for this problem either if I can avoid it, which means I'd like to avoid you. Yeah. But what happens if the doctor that's right in front of you, which I was lucky enough to have, one of those doctors who knew a lot about herbs, who knew a lot about rebalancing things and reaching out for help with regard to things that were not necessarily pharmaceutical or surgical.
But that's an open doctor. That's not, it's not necessarily the ones we always get. But yes, that sounds like that would be a good one.
Right. But how do you find that if you've got the prejudice, the bias and prejudice to the doctors to say, well, they're not open-minded, blah, blah, and you've written them all off in one fell swoop.
And don't get me on dentists.
I've got a great dentist. I've got an amazing dentist. An amazing dentist who really was blown away by the fact that I sent him a chart that linked all the teeth into meridians and meridian lines and different organs. And he was blown away by that. And he has a wife that's had Lyme for a long time and has suffered for a long time. He thought that was a really cool thing to see. And very interested by the fact that I could give me something to hold in my hand and I could literally tell him whether that was something I wanted in my body or not, just by looking at it or holding it. It's like, and I was literally choosing the things that I was going to let him put in my mouth. And he thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And of course, then I was kind of laughing. I said, and then if I get it wrong, I've got this lovely woman who has a biofeedback. The biofeedback will tell me whether I got it wrong, and it will help to rebalance the stuff that I've just put in my mouth. So I'm lucky that I have a dentist that's at least open to things like that. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. Permissions and agenda and open-mindedness or closed-mindedness or our own narrow-mindedness, our own prejudice and biases that will be interfering because there's never a body that doesn't have mind connected to it.
Right.
And it was pretty profound in the last session last month, or pretty more profound when I was actually in Greg Braden's presence when he's doing that little exercise and I'm connecting to heart. And then my heart literally says right up into my head, would you please get out of my way? I know.
I'm sure that my heart's been saying that for a long time.
But it's in my consciousness now. How am I in my own way? Where else am I in my own way? I don't want to be in my way. Life is hard enough without me being in my way and being an obstacle to me. I don't want to be that for myself. So, yeah. And so it's been in my consciousness now. Giving myself permission to get out of my way in other ways, to get out of my gut brain's way, to get out of my head brain's way, to get out of my nose's way, to get out of my larynx's way. All of these places have consciousness.
The little cells that we don't even see.
Yeah. So, you've got
that from you.
Yeah. Well, you've got a doctor that says you got fatty liver disease. There's the diagnosis, fatty liver disease. Okay, what's one of the things that I'm going to be saying out loud if I got a diagnosis? I give permission for my liver to be balanced and rebalanced. I give permission for my liver to be accessed for healing. I give permission I release myself from any agendas here. I release myself from any permissions or lack of permissions, right? Like I would be starting with that. Because somebody actually named a body part. If you named a body part, if you named an organ, if you named an endocrine that's having a problem, I want to make sure I've given permission for that to be rebalanced, for that to be helped, for that to be better, for that to be made better, for that to be brought into unity, for that to brought back into full connection with my wholeness. I give permission for that. I want that. I don't want that poor organ called my thyroid out working on its own, being on its own, not being able to connect with all the other endocrine systems in a beautiful, delicious way. I don't want life to be so non-delicious for my poor thyroid. I don't want that. I want all of the talking and communicating that my thyroid needs to do and wants to do. I want my thyroid or any other organ or any cell happy. What makes a cell happy, an organ happy, a system happy? When they can do their job, where they can do their job to their fullest and highest potential. That's what I want. I want to be able to do my job to my fullest and highest potential and to do my best without necessarily owning the candy bar of famous players or owning some business that isn't my business anymore. But, that's what brings happiness and flow to an organ, that it would just be able to do its best job without having interference, without having toxins, without having problems, without having a mind in the way that's interfering with it being able to just be its best self. I want that for the tiniest little cell. I want that for the beautiful organ, the endocrine, the beautiful system. I want it to be able to have a beautiful conversation with the universe. Did you know there are drivers? There are drivers that connect us. Isn't that cool? NES, the company NES Health taught me that. Drivers that connect us to the universe and to the cosmos. They didn't teach me the cosmos, but I found that out afterwards. These drivers, so they energize the organs. They literally energize the organs. They keep giving information and nourishment to the organs. And when the drivers are off because you've been traumatized or you've had a really bad time of it, the drivers are off, then one of the things that we want to do is give permission for the drivers to be reinstalled. So sometimes if you're sitting there with a computer going, why am I always having these driver issues? Why am I always have to reinstall this? Well, maybe because you're personally having physical driver issues between yourself and the universe, between yourself and the cosmos, because we are one with all. And I'm going to give permission for that to be restored. If my digestion sucks, this would be considered the unconventional nutritionist that's going, hey, you know what? Before we give you any kind of digestive enzyme, let's just make sure the drivers are all there. Like you're nourished by the universe and the cosmos and that everything's working to that end.
I preferred the sucks one. Sorry. Your health sucks. That's powerful, Trace. It did
It is.
really good things today.
And that your brain doesn't need to know how to do this because your light of heart knows, your divinity knows, your higher self knows. And you just needed to know there are drivers. There are drivers. There are drivers. So this conversation is the only thing I really need to know about, that there are drivers. And sometimes we need them reinstalled because they got all screwed up. Because of what happened last week when I lost my job, like 3 drivers just got discombobulated in that. And we need to restore that, to restore the unity between the universe at that level for the liver, at that level for the gallbladder. We need to bring all of that back so it's nourished and helped, and light is shared by that.
Wow.
I give permission for that.
I give permission too. Wow.
And any agenda that I might have had that is separating me from the universe, separating me from the cosmos, releasing myself from that. The whole universe is within me. I am one with that universe. It is within me. It's in every cell of my body. It's ridiculous to think that I could be disengaged from the universe. It is within me.
All right. Wow. This was a great show. We did some stuff here today.
Fun, right? So hopefully it gives some people some things to write down on a piece of paper and some things to just talk to themselves or say in there. And you don't have to say it out loud, but I'll tell you, with regard to permissions and agendas, it is super powerful when you say it out loud, when you actually hear yourself in your ears say it.
I wish I could remember the quote that Matt Kahn said, but he said, when you say it to yourself, there's a part of you that listens, but when you say it out loud, it's like it's a beacon to everyone.
You're proclaiming.
Yes.
You are proclaiming. You're like, I am here. I am here. I am here. And this is what I'm saying. And this is what I'm doing. And this is what I'm deciding. And I'm owning it. It's ownership. It's part of self-sovereignty. So it is really powerful when you can hear yourself say what it is that you want and what it is that's meaningful to you. It is powerful to be able to say it out loud. And it is really that, and it straightens your spine a little bit. I am me. I am me. This is what I want.
Right. Well, if you could put some of those together, we will put that on the page, but we've got a lot on here. So I think we've got a lot to contemplate.
Yeah. Nice.
Very nice. All right. You've been listening to News of the Heart. We begin at the heart of what matters with Tracy McBurney. Wow. Just permission. It was a powerful show. So thank you very much, Tracy.
Yeah, no problem. Yay.
Yay.